This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Radar, and I'm so thrilled to be speaking with Kim Raver about Grey's Anatomy. How are you, Kim?
I'm great. Thank you so much for asking and thanks for having me.
Of course, and we'll talk about plenty besides Grey's Anatomy too, but that's the focus of our conversation today. I was realizing that I think you were on 24 when Grey's Anatomy first started. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I remember being a big fan and simultaneously though we were sitting like in the Emmys together, like the Golden Globes. We were like always like neck and neck, and like Kiefer and I would look over at that table and they would look over to our table. And so it was really interesting for me because we kind of had this sort of a simultaneous explosion of our both shows, and we just kind of, I felt like I got to know a lot of the cast sort of before coming on the show, but I didn't. And in a way, we were always sort of like neck and neck. And then some years they would win, and then we would win, and it was really kind of a fun lead into it. And then coming to the show.
So was it always something you were interested in, getting to join the cast of the show?
Oh, I mean, I never really crossed my mind. It didn't cross my mind because I was so, busy with 24. And then I remember talking to Betsy Beers and Shonda Rhimes, and I was like, oh, this is incredible. I mean, yeah, you always want to be a part of, something like this because the writing is so incredible and the cast is so incredible. And, but it wasn't like a conscious sort of decision, but there was definitely something that like our paths just kind of kept crossing. And so that then I don't know how it came about, but there was a meeting with Shonda and Betsy and Kevin McKidd, sort of to do like a chemistry kind of meeting. It was great. It was really lots of fun.
And what appealed to you most about the role of Teddy?
I mean, I think so much of it. I mean, first of all, to be part of this show, it had become such a sort of iconic show. But for me, it's always really about the writing, and the writing was so extraordinary and is so extraordinary. So that was like the first thing, that led me to it. And then I love that you had this badass female cardiothoracic surgeon. Surgeons, it's a really cutthroat business. And I don't think at the time you saw a lot of women surgeons. And, Shonda Rhimes is a genius in so many ways, right? But also in the fact that she paved a way and created opportunity uh for sort of so many marginalized groups of people by putting them, the characters, in powerful positions that they should be in sort of in the world, right? And if you, they would say, if you can see it, you can be it. And I feel like she was one of the first people to really hit home with that, and just, it is what it is. And that kind of seeped into, I think, the collective conscience. And I think that was one main thing that I thought was amazing. I loved what a badass, Teddy was, and that she didn't apologize for it, and she wasn't going to take anyone's, giving her a hard time. And Christina Yang really gives her kind of a hard time, but also was enamored by Teddy when she first arrived. And I loved the relationship between Teddy and Christina Yang. And that to me, and getting to work with Sandra Oh, and I'll never forget my first day. It's even though I had been coming from shows like 24 and Third Watch and really big shows, it's still extremely intimidating. You've got a cast that's winning awards and at the top of their game, and you don't know how you're going to be received. And I remember Sandra, that was the time pre-COVID where we did these huge table reads where like all the producers, all like ABC and all of the actors, and these like almost like in the hangar that there's no sets or anything in it. And I walk in, and Sandra got up and just gave me a huge hug. And I feel like it kind of was just a beautiful experience from that point on.
It's crazy how long the show has gone on because, you're talking about something like 24 that was a hit, but like that's, pales in comparison just to the number of episodes there are here. Do you feel like as cast members keep coming and then coming back and leaving, do you feel like sort of the mood of the show has changed, or does it sort of feel a lot like it did at the beginning, or at least when you started?
I think it's changed and evolved. And, I think that's a really great thing. I think, not holding on to, I think it has its core values. It's like a family, right? Like you've got your core values and what you believe in. And it's about maintaining that throughout. And I just think that it's evolved with the times, and that's also why it's on. And we're 19 years, later, still in it. So I think that again, Shonda Rhimes and everyone who kind of takes the reins here of showrunners keep that thread in mind and in the writing, and that's a really beautiful gift to have. I mean, it's so rare that you can kind of hold on to a place of comfort where you can do your best work, or at least a place where you can try to do your best work and try to do things. And so yeah, I feel like it's evolved in a really great way.
And how did the conversation of you getting to direct an episode first come up?
It's funny because I think that people feel like, oh, you're on a show, they just give you it, they give you an episode to direct, but that's not like that's not, and also like, oh, it's television, it's so easy. That is not the way it works. I mean, I knew, I started watching, Chandra Wilson was directing and Kevin McKidd was directing and some other cast members. And I had done some producing and developing and other, with other streamers. And I loved it, but I hadn't done it alone. And it was something that was, really like terrifying and exciting. And I just thought, you know what, I want my solo directorial debut to be at home. And I also knew that I could learn so much here. And the crew that we have is so incredible, and the cast and the producers. And so it's like, I just wanted to sort of set myself up for the best, case scenario, because it is a huge undertaking. So it kind of popped in my mind, and it was like a little bit of a kernel of, but kind of started talking to Debbie about it. And, Debbie is a real gift. She really believes, in my opinion, that you have to earn things. It's not like, oh, sure, here's an episode and like someone else will do it for you. It was hard earned, of like showing up, showing her why I believed I could do it, shadowing her, really proving to her that I had mastered as much as I could as a student. And so that kind of started. And then she, gave me an episode. I was like, oh my God, now I really have it, and so I just really, I took every opportunity to just be watching every single director, while I would, instead of, there's a lot of like, while you're doing Teddy, there's a lot of other stuff going on. And so I just would stay on set and just kind of keep watching, because then I felt like the stakes were even higher, right? Because at first I thought, oh, it's great because everyone will be supportive. And then I was like, oh my God, I really can't fail because it's my family. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, some show that's like over there and I'll never see anyone ever again. And so, Debbie Allen was just an incredible mentor. I learned so much from her. And so that was the beginning of it.
And I haven't seen the episode, but from what I hear, it's pretty momentous.
Thanks. It's not a small episode. It wasn't like, oh, it's your first time. Here's like a little tiny like bottle up. No, it's big. It is really big. And it's like, it is jam packed with a ton of scenes. There's 2 stunts in it. I can't give away too much, but there's so much in it. And I'm so blown away. And I really like our producers, Krista Vernoff, our executive producers, and Meg and Julie, like there was no like, oh, this is a huge episode, we're not sure you can do it. Like everyone was like, here you go, go for it. And that was also a really incredible feeling, because there was no, at least in front of my face, I mean, maybe even behind my back, but I felt like there was no second guessing. There definitely was like, can you pull this off? It's huge. You've got a big stunt, like, and we don't usually do stunts. I definitely was like pulling from my 24 days of like figuring out how to do this stunt. And so, it was definitely, but to the credit of everyone here, I didn't feel like there was any hand holding or ring, like, oh, I don't know if she can handle it. And it was just like, let's go. And so for me, that was also like a really huge moment to, really stick to my vision and then execute the ideas that I saw. And so that transition from actor, where yes, you are bringing a tremendous amount to it, but you're sort of a piece in the mechanical wheel. Whereas directing, as and everyone knows, but for me to then change that, it was such a create the vision, and how are you now going to execute that? And let's see, is it going to work? But to really full tilt go 3000% behind it and believe in it. And I had such support in that. I would have an idea of something, and time and budget. And that's another thing about TV. It's not like you have a movie where you have, I don't know, X amount of days that you're shooting, and you're shooting 1 page a day. I mean, we were just really, it was jam-packed, and an incredible DP, Jean. She's just so knowledgeable and so talented. And so that was also a fabulous collaboration. And just everyone in the crew, everyone just was just so supportive. It really, I mean, you could tell I just absolutely loved the experience.
That's great to hear. It's certainly a more
And
supportive
for 3 months.
Certainly a more supportive environment than some of the drama that we see on screen.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was very, very supportive.
That's great. I also think the show has such a sort of enthusiastic fan base who I'm sure are not always enthralled with Teddy. What kind of experiences have you had, hearing from people or reading things?
I love it. I love when they're upset, because not that I want them upset, but that means that we're doing our job. We're not here to be like, oh, we're liked and everything. We're human. And that is another thing that is Shonda Rhimes. We're human, we're flawed, we make mistakes, and we do as humans. So that's what we want to see on the screen. So when people are, shouting, why is she cheating on like, yeah, that's messed up. That is some messed up stuff that Teddy is doing. And and then they're on the journey with me to figure out how to get on a better path and be a better person. And thank God she's flawed. I think it would be boring, and if she was doing everything right and everything perfect. And I think that that's the beauty of the writers too. Look, as we have our hero moments, and we have our bottom of the barrel depth moments. And I think that's why fans are so attached to these characters, because they're attainable, and they're like they are, and like we all are, and we're all just trying to figure it out. And so I think that is also a main point on this show, is that we're relatable in the fact that we're flawed.
Yeah. And I always like, looking at these shows that are very successful and have long lives, but it's also nice to look back at the series that could have had much longer lives, but didn't as much. And I strongly remember one of the times that I was really, getting into TV shortly after 24 was The Nine.
Oh, I know.
And that was a show that, like, the first episode was really, really interesting. And then things just sort of fell apart a little bit after that. What was it? Would you have fond memories of that show?
I do. And I feel the same way as you. It's like, sometimes it's sort of like the wrong timing. That pilot of The Nine was so incredible. I just remember just thinking, just the way we shot it, the people who were involved, and the concept was so interesting. And it's just sometimes the mechanics don't just work out for whatever reason. but I love that. I love the whole, and we were all, I mean, even like the fans were asking questions, but even the actors are like, wait, who did it? What's happening? Like we were all trying to figure it out too. But that was just, that I loved working on that show. I loved, Tom. It's funny because Tom Verica and I worked on that show together. We played, fiance, like engaged to be married, and he, is very much involved with Shonda Land and Bridgerton. And so, I've definitely made strong connections from that experience. But that was one of those shows where you're like, oh God, I just wish that had kept going.
Do you have any other hidden gems from your resume?
Of shows.
Oh, shows or movies, anything that people really, you wished people paid more attention to and might have lasted longer.
I mean, I loved working with Ben Stiller at Night at the Museum. I mean, that was literally, I think I was doing 24 at the time, and it was like one more kidnap or, knife to my throat or 20 more crying scenes. And I was talking to my team and I was like, if I don't do a comedy soon, I was like, I really need to like, and so then I got to do Night at the Museum, and I have never laughed so hard with Paul Rudd and Ben Stiller. And so that was, for me, that was a total gem, and also trying to fit something in between like my TV schedule is always really hard. I'm really excited about this film that I did last summer called The Braid, which is, it's a collaboration of, different, takes place in India and Italy and Montreal. And, I mean, the director and the DP and everyone and all the other actors, I just saw a trailer for it last night. It's so beautiful. And the acting in it is so strong. And it was so crazy because our stories all interconnect, but we never met one another. So there's this incredible closeness, but yet, we didn't get to work together. So, I'm really excited for that to come out. That's probably, coming out in the fall of 2023. So, that little gem, what else? I mean, I loved working on Lipstick Jungle. It was totally different than anything else. And, that character was really fun, and getting to work with, the three of us, it was like a fun little combo, and it was in New York City. And, it's funny. I really feel lucky that I've gotten to work on such different shows. I mean, Third Watch with John Wells, who is just such an incredible human and showrunner. And, I feel like because, he also started out in the theater and for many reasons, but he really brings together a real company. And that company, they're so lucky to be a part of that company that he creates, because it's talented actors who want to be working together with amazing writers and creating also very flawed humans. And so it's really kind of been a lovely journey through the different, I guess I feel really lucky I've gotten to work with really incredible showrunners.
No, that's wonderful. And it's nice to think back about a lot of this. I never watched Third Watch because it was a little, before I really got into TV, but I think the main title theme is terrific and a good one to listen to. So, which is something you don't have as much these days, with series. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's great to get to reflect back on all this with you. So thank you for taking some time to talk to me, and I wish you plenty of luck in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.